Hey everyone, welcome back. So it isn't new that the US economy has been taking a hit because of the global boycott against the US. But today we're going to go through a few reports together. The first two come out of Spokane, Washington, which I've visited a few times. And they're telling a very clear story about how their businesses are struggling right now without us. But the biggest news of all comes from the United States Joint Economic Committee. They released a detailed report, state by state, showing how every border state is feeling the impact. So yeah, we're going to go through this one together. And I'm not going to lie, I do have a bit of a smile on my face. Today's backdrop comes from Hazel, who sent in this amazing night photo from Canis Bay Lake in the Algonquin Provincial Park. It looks like you might have actually caught a shooting star in that shot. Either that or it might be satellite, I don't know. When I asked everyone for more photos from Quebec, Ontario, and Maritimes, you guys definitely delivered. So thank you for sending this over, Hazel. I really appreciate it. Now before I get started, I wanted to remind everyone about my Guard the Leaf subreddit. We've now got over 1,200 people in the community, and there's a lot of really good conversations going on there. I've noticed people are still posting links in my video comments, but I've disabled those links on purpose for everyone's security. There are way too many scammers out there trying to pose as me and trying to grab your data. So if you get a message from me asking for some details, it's not going to be me. Instead, I recommend everyone joining the subreddit and posting your links there. I may even use them for future videos. Reddit is free to use, and you can find the direct link in the description below. Alright, let's get into it. Now I wanted to start by showing this headline because it really kind of sets the stage for this video. I'm not going to go ahead and read the full article, but I do have a paywall-free version in the link in the description. So if you want to read it yourself, just click on the link. The takeaway is pretty simple though. Every single border state is struggling right now. And out of all those border states, New Hampshire is apparently being hit the hardest. It does make me proud that we have such a large impact on their economy, even if that impact is a negative one. Now, I had a US citizen email me recently. I don't know if they're a follower or not, or they're just, sent me an email. What they said is that I'm being too harsh and too judgmental towards these struggling businesses. They said that my video is full of hate. They also claim that they're suffering more than us Canadians because they're the ones living in the country, and that we're basically kicking people while they're already down. They suggested instead of this, we should be showing more empathy, and that I should be using my platform to help support local US businesses. Well, I have a simple answer to that. No. I'm not going to turn my platform or this channel into a place that helps struggling US businesses get back on their feet. You need to remember something. Canada did not start any of this. Not at all. This started with your own president right at the beginning of the year. What you are seeing right now is the repercussions of his actions. And I'm also not going to help support a US business that might be suffering when the owner could very well be a hardcore Trump supporter. I've reported plenty of these businesses on my channel, so why would I support them? Why on earth would I support a US business or industry where many of their people running them check the box beside Donald Trump's name in the 2024 election? Every Canadian, and quite frankly the globe, has a right to be angry, but also disappointed with how things are going right now. Canada has been a loyal friend to your country, and now that we're standing our ground, you are saying that I'm being harsh and judgmental. I'm sorry, but this is a classic case of US exceptionalism at its best. We have plenty of US supporters telling us otherwise, that the United States needs to learn its lesson, and that the only way we can help those fighting fascism inside their own country is to continue the boycott and not let our foot off the gas. Supporting US businesses right now that are struggling would send the wrong message. I know I went off on a bit of a tangent here, but I really need to get this one off my chest. I do not usually like to call people out on my channel, but this one kind of bothered me for the past few days. So let me know down in the comments, do you agree with me on this one or not? Alright, now getting back on track. Let's get started with the first report out of Spokane, Washington.
Tourism from Canada is still on the decline in Spokane, and businesses are hurting because of it. One local company says it's seeing 50% fewer Canadian customers compared to last year. Derek Strom is live in downtown Spokane, where businesses are still feeling the impact.
I just saw the Bronx. We need fentanyl. Come downtown, y'all. I need fentanyl.
Derek visits Spokane, says Canadian tourism makes up about 5% of the visitors here in Spokane, and that can add up to millions of dollars added to the local economy. But since the Canadian government warned its citizens about visiting the U.S., that's been on the decline. During a recent congressional committee meeting, Washington Senator Patty Murray said the decline in Canadian tourism is having a huge impact on Spokane's economy.
Passenger vehicle border crossings in my state are down more than 24% in the first 10 months of this year.
24% doesn't sound like a lot. But ask yourself this. Would she be making this speech right now if it was not that big of a deal? And just a reminder to everyone who might be disappointed with that 24%. It's still more than enough to make the government and tourism officials panic.
Spokane, Washington, Eastern Washington, saw a 33% drop in visitors this year.
Murray was citing a story KXLY did in April that referenced the number of people coming to the visitor center in Riverfront Park and writing where they're coming from. Those aren't official numbers and are based on a sample size of less than 60 people. But Visit Spokane says the number of Canadian tourists has continued to decline since then, and it's only seen fewer than 20 Canadians at its visitor center over the last couple months.
I would imagine if Trump never happened over the last couple months, the numbers would not be around 20. It'd probably be closer to 500, maybe even 1,000. And that's a lot of Canadian money not going into their economy. But hey, Trump said he doesn't need anything from Canada.
We don't need cars from Canada. We don't need energy from Canada. We don't need anything from Canada.
Well, we're listening. So I'll remind that person who emailed me. Your president is showing this level of disrespect towards Canada. So again, why should I support any U.S. business right now?
Numbers from the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol show travelers from Canada to Washington are down from previous years in September and October. Best of Broadway, which holds performances at the First Interstate Center, says that in 2024 it was selling around 100 tickets per week to people traveling from Canada, but since April, that number has been cut in half.
We're looking at a few hundred tickets for every big show run that we have. Now we're counting our Canadian visitors into the dozens. The last show we had, I think we had 14 total tickets out of the whole run of 15,000.
Did he say 15 tickets out of 15,000? That's honestly amazing in my opinion. And those 15 Canadians who bought tickets, well, no comment on you guys.
Justin Kobluk says the difference in ticket sales can be enough to decide which shows they want to bring to Spokane.
Look, adds he's reaching out to Canadians to try and get them to come back to shows in Spokane. He's hopeful that ticket sales from north of the border will pick up soon.
Yeah, no. Don't count on that happening at all. Whenever I hear someone say hope this or hope that, it feels like doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Like Canadians would just magically decide one day, okay, let's go over. Anyways, this next report also comes out of Washington State, and it leads directly into the government report I want to show everyone later.
Economic Committee report found newly implemented tariffs on Canada have led to a steep drop in Canadian tourism.
Okay, I need the viewers' input on this one. Whenever I hear a news anchor say it's because of the tariffs, it honestly just adds more fuel to my boycott. Am I the only one that feels this way? It started to become such a trigger phrase for me that the second I hear someone blame it on the tariffs, it feels like more gasoline has just been poured onto my boycott fire. Let me know down in the comments. Is this the same for you?
Harming American businesses. The report says every state along the United States-Canada border is facing declines in tourism and rising economic pressures. In Washington, Spokane saw 33% less visitors in 2025 compared to 2024. Seattle has seen an almost 27% decrease in international visitors. Senator Patty Murray released a statement saying, quote, "I've heard firsthand this year how many small businesses in our state are being forced to raise prices or close their doors altogether. This isn't just bad economic policy. It is real American families' livelihoods being hurt."
It's best that you talk to your president about this one. Canada can't help you anymore because he said he doesn't need anything from Canada. Now moving on. One of our viewers emailed me this report from the Joint Economic Committee. I don't know what it is, but it's a government website. It breaks down the tourism and revenue decline in every state along the Canada-US border. All of them. This report is 8 pages long. I'm not going to read it word for word because the video will go on way too long, but I will point out some of the highlights for each state. Before that though, I wanted to read 3 quotes that they included on their first page. Here's the first one. "When our neighbors stay away, our margins disappear. And in groceries, those margins are vanishingly small to begin with. The friction at the border is no longer just a headline. It's an empty parking lot and a threat to our livelihood," said Dale Kelly. See, I just showed my dyslexia. Said Kyle Daly, owner of Solomon Store in the Westward, New Hampshire. Here's the next one. Being only 8 miles from the border, normally Canadians make up anywhere from 15 to 25% of visitors. Now, I can probably count the number of Canadians on one hand. I'm just trying to plug along and keep my nose above the waterline, said Elizabeth Guerin, owner of Fiddleheads in Colebrook, New Hampshire. These are more than just numbers that represent missed revenue for our local businesses, reduced hotel demand, and fewer dollars supporting jobs and investments in our community, said Shirley Hughes, President and CEO of Visit Fargo Moorhead in Fargo, North Dakota, and Moorhead, Minnesota. I wanted to read out these quotes to you because there's two things I want to point out. The first one, in all three quotes, there was not a single reference to the political turmoil that their president is causing. Instead, they all came across to me as sob stories about what our boycott is doing to them, almost like we're ruining their businesses and their lives. Second reason, I showed the 2024 voting map for each of the states that these people are from. Sure, New Hampshire and Minnesota, they might be technically blue, but they're barely blue. So when it comes to these business owners telling their sob stories, there's about a 50-50 chance that one of them might have actually voted for Trump. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on these three business owners' plead for help? Now back to the rest of the report. First up, we have Alaska. I actually totally forgot about Alaska. Their main complaint is that summer events are down by about 20%, and that their passenger traffic is down by about 10%. Second, we have Idaho. Their main issue is that vehicle traffic is down by more than 27%, and businesses are experiencing a decline of around 25%. Next, we have Maine, home of our favorite gaslighting Governor Mills. The same governor who said, "We're not hurting Donald Trump, we're hurting our friends."
And so when people stop coming to Maine, particularly from Canada, from the maritime provinces, they're not hurting Donald Trump. They're not hurting the powers that be in Washington. They're hurting their friends here in Maine, whose businesses thrive and depend on Canadian traffic. And that is disappointing. You're not sending a message to Washington, and you're only hurting your friends.
For anyone who thinks I'm too hard on Governor Mills, this is the reason why. We're only friends when the money dries up. But some of these so-called friends are probably business owners who voted for Trump. So no, they're definitely not my friends. Now getting back to the report, their main complaint is that vehicle traffic is down from Canada about 25%. The Cat Ferry is also down around 20%. Yeah, 20%. Businesses in the area are seeing up to 50% drop in activity, and the regional theater is reporting a decrease of about 44%. Then we move on to Michigan, a state that we don't normally hear from. Their border crossings are down by about 11%. International overnight visitors are down by about 17%. And Canadians normally account for roughly $360 million annually. But here's the part that really gets me. A manager at the Elmore Lodge said none of these businesses asked for this. Well, I have an argument for that. If these small business owners voted for Trump, then they absolutely asked for this. So do not give me that bullshit. Next is Minnesota. Vehicle crossings are down by about 19%. Cook County alone is reporting a 30% drop just in their region. They also state that 70% of business surveys are reporting somewhat or significant decrease in Canadian visitors. They even mentioned Sarah from the Java Moose Cafe in the report. She's someone I spoke to offline and also helped to get our message out in a previous video. Now, for Montana, border crossings are down by about 19%. Credit card spending is down by about 44%. They also noted a hotel reported a cancellation by a Canadian sports team, 70 rooms, 200-person dinner, and about $38,000 lost revenue. Moving on to New Hampshire, there's a 30% decrease in Canadian visitors this year. Hotels are reporting 30% vacancies when normally they would be sold out. State-run campgrounds are down by about 71% compared to the same time last year. An artisan shop also mentioned that they can count the number of Canadians on one hand. Now moving on to New York, crossings are down by about 70%. 85% of businesses report a decrease in Canadian customers. And that golf course guy, the one who offered 3 stereotypical golf balls, he said he's seen a dramatic drop as well. This is getting kind of weird. Either the report is referencing almost every report I've done, or I just happen to cover pretty much all the cases included here. Because everything listed in this report, I'm already familiar with. Moving on to North Dakota, border crossings are down more than 25%, an estimated $14 million less spent in the state. Hotel occupancy rates are down 4.5%. I don't know about that one. And a large regional shopping attraction, has mentioned noticeable decrease in Canadian shoppers. Now Vermont. Border crossings are down 28%. Credit card spending is down 49%. I like that one. Golf courses are down 20%. Pizza shops are down 20%. And web traffic to a motel that used to see 27% Canadian visitors is now down to just 4%. And finally, we have Washington State, the state that I'm most familiar with, and the home of this guy.
If you come from Canada with a Canadian driver's license or a passport, or you use that goofily delightful Canadian accent, we'll give you a 30% discount.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that guy. Vehicle traffic is down 24%. International overnight visitors are down 26%. The Vancouver Island to Seattle ferry is down 30%. And more than half of the businesses surveyed in Bellingham have noticed a decrease in Canadian visitors. Organizers of an annual seafood maritime festival in Whatcom County also mentioned that Canadian interest has dropped significantly. They said they knew they could no longer rely on Canadian business because of fear at the border. That's correct. But then this guy, Kevin Coleman, also mentions a lack of understanding around tariffs as another reason. Or more specifically, Canadians drawing a strong line around promoting Canada first. And this is where I have to stop. What do you mean a lack of understanding of tariffs? We Canadians know exactly what the tariffs are doing. So it's not the Canadians' lack of understanding tariffs. It's your president. I'm going to bite my lip on this one for a bit. Now, I just gave a point form summary for each one of the states, but I highly encourage everyone to read the full report yourself, because there is a lot of detail for each one of the states. That said, nowhere in the entire 8 or 9 page document does it even remotely mention the root cause, which is their president. It's sad, but at the same time, it should be expected. For me, this also reinforces something else, that many US businesses may not have been close friends as we thought they were. And it also confirms my 3 main reasons why things will never go back to being the same with the United States again. If you haven't seen that video yet, the link will be in the description. So go check out that PDF report yourself. It's an interesting but also somewhat frustrating read. Alright, that's it for today's video. If you found any value in anything I've covered today, help out the channel by hitting the like and subscribe. Have a great day everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.